Okay, you're looking at a daily chart of the Nasdaq. Welcome to my daily review. You can see the index has been on a bit of a heater here, and we finally got the pullback. The last pullback that we had was pretty shallow and gradual. You can see it right here from June 16th, pulled back to the 21, and then continued on in its merry way. But today, the sell-off was right back down to the 10 EMA. This is why I always on my site include the 10, the 21, and if it's close to 50. But the 10 and the 21 right now, it's in a power trend. So it just pulled back to the 10 EMA today. It did it quickly, 2% move, and there you can see it's 1.5% above the 21. So it could pull back to the 21 like it did here, which is 1.5%. But if the index is correcting 2%, you can bet your growth stocks are going to be correcting 4, 6, or even 8%, because they're going to correct 2 to 4 times the index. And that's pretty normal. If it's any more than 8%, then there might be a problem. But I saw most of those growth stocks selling off, 2 to 6%. Anyway, I'm going to get to where the money rotated to today. We always talk about the rotation, and we saw this rotation today into stocks that I really have no interest. These are value stocks, basically, and a good portion of the Dow Jones Industrial Average. You can see where the market's rallying. This thing's just been going sideways. Not interested in negative EPS growth. That's Goldman Sachs, by the way. IBM, they reported earnings last night. Had a nice pop here, but there's no growth here, and yeah, it's up 2-something%. But you can see while the market's been rallying, these stocks have just been going sideways. So pretty tough to get excited about that. And if you're a growth stock investor, you just got to suck it up. You've had 3 straight months of gains, so you're gonna have to give some back from time to time if you're going to hold on for longer term. If you're a trader, you can go in and out, scale in and out, and that's fine too. It's just your style. This is Johnson & Johnson. They reported as well, single digit growth, and traded above its 200 simple moving average. So, good for the Johnson & Johnson shareholders. It's up 6%. So this is what's moving the Dow. The Dow was a big winner today, and the Nasdaq pulled back. This is McDonald's. Actually, not a bad looking chart here, but the market's rallying. You want to take advantage of that rally, and these are not the stocks to do that. But they rotated into these safer, the value plays today. Sold the AI stocks, the growth stocks that have been just ramping higher, and that's just part of the game. It's got to have a rotation to remain healthy longer term. These stocks are not just going to go straight up forever and a day. They're going to pull back. And if you're thinking of buying stocks on a dip, like this is Apple right here, like it dipped here, you got to wait until they bounce. I'm going to show you some stocks here. This one pulled back to the 21 and bounce. What's a bounce? I mean, at least 3% move higher. I'm going to get into a couple of stocks here. Meta is another one. Apple, to me, that looks fine. Meta just pulled back to its 10 EMA, is doing nothing wrong. You got to expect this. And this is why I always, post the moving averages, is because they come back and visit these. And you always have to know where that 50 is, because they do pull back to the 50 as well. Even in an uptrend, strong stocks are going to do that. They're going to form bases. This is Microsoft, just pulled back to the 10. This is just very basic movement here. This is Tesla. They reported earnings, pretty good earnings, but just sold the news. Big run up, buy the rumor, then sell the news. This one had a gap to fill at 264 and unchanged right here. So it filled the gap. So that's a productive day, 264.45. So people are asking me, like, what's a bounce? Don't anticipate the bounce. Make that thing bounce. For me, a bounce for Tesla would be back above the 270 level here. Yeah, right in here, 270. If it could pop back above there, that would be great. The height today was 280. I'm not expecting it to get above there, but if it could have an inside day tomorrow, that would be a positive. Tomorrow's OPEX, so definitely one to watch. Tesla's a leader. NVIDIA is another one of these, the grade 8 or whatever they call them, divine 9 or magnificent 7, whatever you want to call it. This one just pulled back to its 10 as well. This stock has been in demand and definitely a market leader. So like I said, if the Nasdaq pulls back 2%, you can expect your big growth stocks to pull back 2 to 4%. This one is down 3.3%. It's a very bad sign, though, that these reports are pretty good from Netflix and Tesla, and they just sold them. It's kind of like a mechanical thing, buy the rumor, sell the news. This is down more than 8% on a pretty decent report, and they stopped the password sharing, and that's just like added revenue for them. I think they were just conservative in their guidance, as they normally are, and this is just kind of a mechanical thing. Hey, we've had a big run, we get the news, this is what we expected, now we're going to take profits and go somewhere else and move along, and that's what traders do. Let me see. I'm going to go to the biotech stocks because there was some strength in biotech. Finally, these things have been dead in the water. And this is Novo Nordisk with their weight loss drug. And this one, I kind of like this bottom. I think I pointed this out last week here. It had a bottom, then it kind of retested the bottom, and then held that low, and now has rallied back through. It's 50, and they report earnings on August 10th, which is coming up. And that's a nice little consolidation there. And their products are in demand. Eli Lilly, this one broke out of this base here. You can see this cup with handle base, it pulled back to the 10 here, and then ripped higher and pull back to the 21 and reestablish its uptrend, pull back to the 50. And you can write this down: the first trip to the 50 simple moving average out of a base in an uptrend is usually a gift. I mean, the probabilities are high. And this is what I mean by a bounce. It comes back to the 50 right here, and then which is what, 440, and now it's up here 460. That's a $20 move. So yeah, that's a bounce. So you got to wait for the bounce. Don't anticipate a bounce, because it could have just kept sliding through. And so with all these stocks, Tesla and NVIDIA and Meta coming back to their moving averages, make them bounce, make them prove themselves. CROX is another one. It was on our watch list last week, made a nice move, but as I expected, it's going to pull back, ahead of earnings, and that's what it did today. It just pulled back to its 10 EMA there, and it closed a little bit below it, down 6%, as the index was down 2%. So that's 3 times the index. Kind of expected, not a surprise there. ELF, it pulled back yesterday on the oddity IPO launch, and today it just ended up flat. So that's pretty strong for a weak index. So yeah, the ELF doing nothing wrong here. Earnings are 8.1. I like that. Celsius has been struggling. It looks like it has a date with the 50 here, which is nothing wrong. Remember, pulls out of a base, right? Blows higher, and now if it comes back to the 50, wait for the bounce, but that should be a gift. You just wrote that down as a new rule, right? All right, I want to go to the IPO stock of the day, CAVA. Had an inside day today, showing strength though, right? A 2% gain with the, pretty weak market. If you're long, you'll take it. You could see this little IPO consolidation, and it's only been out since June 15th. Okay, so it's doing really well. I mean, if you're a long in CAVA, you got to be extremely happy with the performance so far of that IPO. Software took a hit today. I'm going to get to some of the names. All the AI and growth related names just got sold. Didn't really matter which one. This one just pulled back to its buy area here, 1716. I like that there. Right, coincides with the 10 EMA right there. So yes, Palantir, say yes to Palantir. MDB, MongoDB, another one of our leading stocks here, and just pulled back to the 10, just a lot like Meta and Apple. Just, you got to expect these things to pull back, and this is relieving a little bit of pressure, and this is called, back in my day, backing and filling. I don't know what they call it now, consolidation or digestion or whatever, but this is normal. Nothing to be alarmed about. Monday, MNDY, this one pulled back to its buy area. We've seen this a lot, stocks that are breaking out and then pulling back to their buy area, and they've been relatively successful. doing that. So that's definitely one to watch. Fortinet, pull back to the 10, not a big deal, down what, 1%. So that's actually doing better than the index. So good for the Fortinet. Anyway, enough of the software. Let's go to the home builders. This is DR Horton, another one of our leading stocks. They reported a stellar quarter that was up in pre-market 5 or 6%. Looked like it was going to ramp, made a new high. This is ready for the heat list. And what happened? They just sold it. It was only down 1.9% though. Came down nearly to its 21 EMA, which is what, 122? Yeah, 122.50. So it did make it down there. So closed up a little bit off there, but not bad for DR Horton. And you're going to have some selling. It's just buy the rumor and sell the news. The strong earnings report was expected. So they got what they expected and just sold it and moved on. That's part of the rotation. This is a Pulte Home. Pull back to the 21 today. The low was 76, the 21 was 77.96, and then it closed above the 21. So good for Pulte. Builders, another one of our leading stocks. And what can I say? Pull back to the 10, down 3.5% on a day when the Nasdaq was down 2%. Not bad. The 21 is 135, so maybe it'll make it down there. Today the low is 137.77. We'll see. It's up and after hours. We'll just see what happens tomorrow. Tomorrow's OPEX Friday, so goofy stuff happens around this day. I want to take a look at some of the stocks that on our watch list have made new highs and then pulled back. This is ON Holdings, ONON, the Roger Federer shoe stock. Made a new high there at 35.85, then pulled back with the general market weakness, but still it was down less than the index slightly, so not bad. Another one on our watch list, made a new high with Skechers, and then it really pulled back to form this bearish engulfing candle there. We'll see what happens though. I still like that buy point. I like the stock. Just down, less than the Nasdaq, so Skechers still looks good to me. Boot, I've been talking about this one recently. I like the setup. It ramped higher, made a new high, and Boot looks good too. So the shoe stock's not doing too bad. And I think that's it for today. I lied. One more thing in honor of the great Steve Jobs. SMCI, this stock, they raised guidance today, like really significantly raised guidance. And they have earnings coming up, the 16th. I mean, their guidance was just ridiculous. The from like 1.8 billion in revenues, like 2.2 billion. I mean, just a joke of they're just firing on all cylinders. What can you say? I just wanted to point out, that first of all, let's go to the weekly on this. I'm going to go a little deeper on SMCI, the high tight flag that we talked about here, flag pattern, and broke above it. Okay, so that's clearly high tight flag, which is a pretty rare pattern. And then the high and the flag right there is at 270. Okay, so we had a buy point there at 270, and then it ramped higher. Actually, when it hit 270, it pulled back to the 21, and people are saying this is a climax top. It's done. And when it was at 213, I'm going, oh my God, maybe they're right. But no, this thing ramped higher. Traded at an all-time high here yesterday, 329, and they're reversed back to the 10 today. But this 300 number is not to be ignored. It was providing a little bit of resistance, and when it was at 325 yesterday, it's like, whoa, we're gone. That thing's in the rear view mirror. And of course, in the fashion of Lee Corso, not so fast, my friends. It pulled back to the 10, and it really provided a buying opportunity. That's pretty much all today, was when it pulled back here. If you're not in it, pull back to the 10, and that's what I call a bounce from 281 to 302. $20 bounce. Nice strong percentage gain there, if you're into such things. But that is a bounce. And, if it just trades sideways for a few days, tomorrow, like I said, is OPEX. Funny things are probably going to happen. If it just trades sideways up and down this 300 here for a little while before earnings, that would be great. But this thing is a very volatile stock. And I think it's going to go higher. That's why it's my largest holding. NVIDIA is my second largest holding. I just think this one is it went from a 2 billion market cap when I was originally looking at it. Now it's like 15 billion. You know, it still trades in the Russell 2000 index. It'll probably get to the MDY, the S&P 400, I would think, at least with that market cap like that. It's too big for the Russell 2000. But anyway, SMCI, I like the pattern. I like the fundamentals. The reason why this number was here, some people questioned me about this, is their revenue number was a negative last quarter is because they had component shortages. It was a supply chain issue. Now they've solved that issue. They're very upfront about that in the last quarterly earnings report, and obviously with the raised guidance today that they're hitting on all cylinders. And I just don't know, you know, they're going to earn I don't know, $12-13, and I just think that it's still a pretty cheap stock. And with that raised guidance today with revenues, I mean, they're going to be trading at 2x sales. This is not an expensive stock, and I expect it to go higher, but you know, I've been wrong before. I could be wrong again, but that's my story, and I'm sticking to it, and we never give up.